Welcome back. Now, this is Andy Dunks. Now, he has been at Fujitsu man and boy. So he's been there, as they described him, as man and boy. So he's been at Fujitsu many years. So he's one of these completely, I don't want to say brainwashed, but indoctrinated, one of these corporate types. And all these companies, not just Fujitsu, I've worked in companies with these people, they really do. They believe they do anything to protect the company and all this. They don't even need to be asked because it is just what they do. But it's not just him. There are loads and loads of people like them. I've certainly met them in the companies I've worked for. But anyway, he has got a little bit of a problem. Now, he is the one. He signed, it says here, dozens, possibly hundreds of witness statements attesting to the integrity of that Horizon system, and therefore the poor old sub postmasters got found guilty as a result of what he has signed up to. Now, he has appeared at the inquiry before, but this time they've had him back, and they've given him the warning about self-incrimination. So they are clearly looking at him very closely. Now, what's interesting is he was signing these statements made by the, I think it's called the SSC, which is the Service Support Centre, they call it. Now, the Service Support Centre should be really, they're making the statements and they should be signing them, but they got called into the Lee Castleton case. There's a lady called Anne Chambers, and she had a bit of a bad experience with it, found it quite unpleasant. So her boss, Mick Peach, he said, no, right, that's it, no more my staff, I'm not going to court anymore, and just pass the old buck. That's what happens in these corporate companies, pass the buck to somebody else. And poor old Andy there, he's like, yeah, well, I'll sign, I don't know about I'll sign anything, but he's ended up signing this and signing that. And but what you're going to see here anyway, according to him, all these inquiries that they used to come in, was, everything's routine, and they got passed off, and you'll see there's nothing, nothing ever came up that wasn't routine according to him. Everything was routine, and it just got passed off. And again, pass the buck. They said pass that to something else. If it's not come back, well, it's not a problem, then, is it? It's all safe and robust.
NBSC postmaster states she has losses every week in 2 stock units. Resolution 3rd of March, call closed. Postmaster was getting discrepancies. SSC have investigated and advised that the NBSC take a second look at as the office stock units appear to be in a mess. Outcome, SSC advice that call be passed back to NBSC for further investigation. So that entire call you've summarised in this way. How were you able to say that this call was of a routine nature and the contents of the call would not affect the working order of the counter?
Through my investigation, I mean, the call, I would have said routine nature. There were calls where postmasters had a discrepancy of some sort, and they were investigated routinely, as they would be, and resolved. So these are routine calls.
Was everything that happened in the decades of you working for Fujitsu routine? Nothing ever happened out of the routine?
I don't know, but I'm basing this witness statement on my knowledge at the time that I'd seen numbers of these type of calls, and they're dealt with routinely.
But what was the outcome? What happened? What was the outcome?
The NBSC investigated, so I have to believe that the NBSC had resolved the issue.
How did you believe that the NBSC had resolved the issue?
Because the call didn't come back to Fujitsu for further investigation.
What about if the NBSC were telling the postmasters, we've taken it as far as we can go, it's now your job to pay up, you owe that £6,000, it says so in your contract?
I know nothing about that.
No. Thank you very much, Mr. Dunks. You've been very helpful indeed. But those are the only questions.
Anyway, if you do like this sort of thing, please like and subscribe, and do put a comment as to what you think of this fella. Be very interesting to know what you think, how he comes across, his body language in particular. I think it's very, very defensive, and he's thinking about his answers. But in this next clip, you're going to see there's this spat about what is it called, the computer in the system, and about whether it means the same thing or not. And I thought it was the same thing, but it turns out I was wrong, and you'll see why in a minute. Yeah, you'll see this at the Emma Price barrister. She's brilliant. I mean, they're all brilliant, but she questions this Andy Dunks, and you'll see right towards the end. You watch the Edward Henry sitting next to her. You watch that Edward Henry, and he closes up. He's really focusing on him, and some of his pauses are they're so long. I just love to know what's going on in his head. He's probably thinking, what am I going to say to that? anyway, yeah, let us know what you think anyway.
Then, Mr. Dunks.
What the statement says. I don't remember why those two words were changed.
Who instigated that change?
Pardon?
Who instigated that change?
I have no recollection of who instigated that change. I can't remember.
Well, did you?
I'm so sorry.
I said, did you, Mr. Dunks? In other words, did you quite deliberately, on some occasions, use the word the computer, and on other words, and on other times, the system? Or was there a different template which you use from time to time?
No, I don't believe there was a different template. I don't remember why.
If there wasn't a different template, you personally must have decided to substitute the system for the computer on occasions. So I think what Ms. Page wants to know is why you did that.
That may have been on the request of someone within the post office or one of their lawyers. I don't. Every time there was a change within a witness statement, it was spoken about and discussed, and then agreed on the wording. So there were many changes. The witness statement evolved through the years and changes. How that was changed and the process, and when things were changed and things taken out, I can't remember that process and who instigated what changes.
So you have no recollection of any kind as to any conversation between you and anyone which resulted in the phrase the computer being changed to the phrase the system. Is that your...
No. I mean, even now, I would regard that meaning the same, trying to convey the same thing. I don't know why those two words were changed.
So there's your answer, Ms. Page. The computer and the system are the same thing.
Well, I wonder if I might just ask a little more on that, just by putting to you what Mr. Jenkins said he thought the computer meant. He said that he thought the computer meant the computer that he was typing his witness statement on. That his desktop computer that he was typing it on was working properly. Does that make any sense to you, Mr. Dunks?
I don't know how or why, how he came to that conclusion. I don't know. No.
Do you know how or why it was that he came to have that wording at all?
In what? Sorry, in what?
How would he have come to have the template wording that your team used?
Because, well, actually, I'm not sure I ever saw any of Gareth's witness statements. I'm assuming that they were being used the same sort of templates to start off with, the witness statement templates.
Was this dealt with at a level above you, Mr. Dunks? Was someone in charge of the template and how it was used?
If you're saying if someone had more authority to me and about those things, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Who? Is your loyalty getting in the way here, Mr. Dunks?
My loyalty?
Is that why you're being so cagey about who was in charge of the standard wording in the witness statements?
No, because I don't know who wrote the witness statement. I don't know who drafted the original witness statement.
And you don't know who changed the wording from one thing to another?
Well, that would have been, I mean, someone like through discussions within the post office. I mean, I know that the wording at times